Okay. All right. We're going to be quiet for a minute and then we'll start the show.
You're watching HCAM TV.
And welcome to the Hangout Hour on HCAM TV. We're really glad that you can join us for this live hour from 2 to 3 with a lot of local talk and local people in our community sharing their experiences and their knowledge during this time. Joining me today as co-host for this first half hour is Bob Hamilton. Bob,
Hi,
welcome
Abbie.
back.
Hi.
And our special guest is Abbie Rosenberg of the Mental Health Collaborative. So, Abbie, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me
Oh, no, it's great. I've been looking forward to this since the last time we had a chance to talk a little bit. You have a lot of really interesting stuff going on.
Thank you. I have to say, when I read the HCAM news this morning and it said Abbie Rosenberg in home repairs, I kind of freaked out and thought, that is pretty scary because I really don't know how to change a light bulb.
Okay. All right. So I'm glad that we're back in your comfort zone.
Yeah, but you can repair mental health, right?
I was kind of thinking home repairs,
Yeah.
the body is your home. It all works out.
Okay. I like that. How's everything going for you? Everybody okay?
Everyone's great. Yep.
Good.
I mean, given the situation.
Right. I know. I know. Like that's kind of understood now. Just like the new hello is, hope everybody's safe and well.
Yep.
All right, we're Health Collaborative. We kind of talked more wide ranging on our first episode. I'd like to drill down a little bit more into some actual things that you have been working on and actually, show some stuff that we have going on, or you have going on, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
And the first thing, why don't we start off with a clip from your current outreach video? And before we play that, and I'm going to show the video on the web page so people can see what it looks like, and then we'll play. It's about 10 minutes long. We're going to play about 3.5 minutes of it, kind of give people a feel for that.
Mm-hmm.
But first, could you tell us a little bit about what are these current video series that you're doing?
Well, we've done two.
Two is the series, Abbie.
Yeah, and we're going to keep on going. But because we've had to temporarily delay our programming, we're trying to be creative, get some of our important messages out there. We really feel, well, we all know that tools to maintain our mental health right now is probably one of the most important things we can do. So we made this first attempt. It's not HCAM quality, but it's the first. We can only go up from here. So yeah, why don't you go ahead and then we can talk about it.
All right. And yes, HCAM is not HCAM quality. It's all about community. And that's what we're really, really all about now. So here comes your website. And we're on the page where we have your video. This is the second one of the series?
No, the first.
This is the first one. Okay. So we're going to play about 3.5 minutes of it. Let's take a look.
Hi, my name is Abbie, and I'm the founder and executive director of Mental Health Collaborative. We are a new nonprofit organization based in Massachusetts, and our mission is building resilient communities through mental health education and awareness. One of the ways that we do this is through teaching mental health literacy in schools and throughout whole communities. In the wake of the coronavirus, we had to put all of our in-person programs on hold, but we really want to help. I am a therapist and I work at a Massachusetts university as well as with adults of all ages. I have noticed that in most people, it's not easy to talk about mental health. That is the focus of this short training. These are the goals of our training. What is mental health and why is it more important today than ever? What goes on in our minds? What is the relationship between our thoughts and our feelings? And finally, how can we practice compassion, both for ourselves and others, through open, supportive, and non-judgmental conversations? So what is mental health? It's the ability of individuals to successfully adapt to the opportunities and challenges that life gives us every day. Mental health does not mean the absence of negative emotions. We're all going to experience life's ups and downs, disappointments, and losses to varying degrees and at different times throughout our lives. But how we respond to life's ups and downs is critical to our mental health. Learning how to acknowledge and label our emotions, allowing ourselves to feel them and even talk about them are important skills that we all need, especially during stressful times. Open and authentic conversations with others is also an important part of mental health. There's a ton of research about how our relationships and ability to be open improves our mental health and can really help us when life isn't going as planned. And we all know by now that life does not always go as we planned. Again, mental health isn't the absence of negative emotions. As a matter of fact, if I heard that you just lost your opportunity to study abroad or celebrate your high school or college graduation and you didn't feel negative emotions, then I'd be worried about your mental health. We're surrounded by a ton of advice right now on how to emotionally cope with the COVID-19 crisis. Here are several of them on the slide. What are some of the ways that you cope with the sadness, the frustration, the disappointment, and loss during this time? Take a minute to think about which of these things or other things that have helped you. Then try to think about one or two more that you'd like to try. All of these are helpful practices to maintain in life for both your physical and mental health. I'm going to focus in on two of them that can be extra helpful when you're feeling off. Those are paying attention to your thoughts and reaching out and sharing with others. Did you know that experts estimate that the mind thinks between 60,000 to 80,000 thoughts per day? That's an average of 2,500 to 3,300 thoughts per hour. Can you imagine what it's like for your brain to process all of these thoughts? And when these thoughts that run through our brains are negative and self-critical, which they often are, they affect our moods and our whole outlook on life.
All right. So that is really cool information. And I would like to play the whole thing, but people can find it on your website. And I'm interested to chat with you more about it, about how you came up with this concept and the things that are going into it. The one thing that jumped out the most to me are accepting negative emotions, because I have learned in my experience and in my education that when you try to make somebody feel better, it's often invalidating for what they are feeling. You are actually telling them, you should not feel bad about this, and there's something wrong with you for doing that, so turn it around. And when you accept that there are things that you should have negative emotions or feelings about, it makes it so much easier to have compassion and understanding for what the person is doing. Yes?
Yes, I agree. Yeah, we really, we really wanted to talk about first compassion for ourselves, because we're not even aware, as the tape said, how self-critical we are. And I often say to people, would you ever, first identify what you're saying to yourself? And it's like having this little gnat following you around saying mean things to you all day. And how bad does that make anyone feel? And would you ever treat someone you cared about that way?
Right, right. So that is really good content in there. And can you talk a little bit about what the goals are of this campaign?
Well, this video, we're hoping to get a lot of different educational videos. And when I talk about our new advisory board, I can tell you what some of their input has been. But yeah, we we just want people to notice in themselves and have more compassion for themselves. We also want people to start to have compassion for others. Once you can have compassion for yourself, you learn how to have it for others. And the other big piece of this video is teaching or explaining to people how important it is to have real conversations. And as I say in the video later on, not just like the liking on a text or saying, hey, how are you? Great, good, especially in young adults. We are social beings and we thrive on connections, and that's what makes life so great. That's what helps us get through some of the hard times in life and the good times. And it's a real skill. These are probably having empathy, compassion for yourself and others, knowing really how to start a real conversation, having an authentic conversation. Those are probably some of the most valuable skills that we can learn. And I say learn because just like learning an instrument or a language, it takes practice. It takes some guidance sometimes, but we can all learn the skills, and they're so much more important than what's on your resume.
Right. And as my father would say, as I've traveled down the road of life, I have often thought and talked about with my family and friends that this stuff should be taught in school. There should be a curriculum that teaches these things, because there are certain things that are just so useful. Radical acceptance, validation, accepting negative emotions, all these things are so important. And I'm just, as you were talking, it makes me think oftentimes when people go to parties back in the old days, there would be a lawyer. They, oh, hey, I got this thing. Could you give me some free advice? Or, there would be a doctor. Oh, I got a pain in my elbow. What do you think that is? And I'm just wondering, in this condition that we're in under this pandemic, I've got to think that so many more people are hungry for this type of information. Are you seeing people that are just friends and family that are like asking you questions about anything like this?
Yeah, I think people are more open to it. So it's a important time for us to strike while the iron's hot and help teach people these invaluable skills, and teach people that it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to be open, that's what makes people real. And I think especially in this age of digital literacy and with young adults, it's all about I'm not enough or I'm not worthy. And that's just that I hate that.
Yeah, that's a really hard thing. The internet has made it so easy to compare yourself in any direction. And so many people, when they're trying to figure themselves out, are comparing themselves in the wrong ways that for their mental health.
Yeah, and that it's normal for young adults and even for people my age. I'm still figuring myself out, which is a good thing. But
Yeah.
it's all normal. It's all good. But it's really about having some real conversations and being authentic and open and knowing how to reach out to people and how to start conversations.
Right. Now, this is the first one, and you have a second one
Yes.
that's out already?
Oh, yeah. It's also on the website. May is Mental Health Awareness Month. So we did our attempt number 2, a little bit more of a social media friendly version. So you can see what I mean.
I see. You're talking about this, the second video that we should play.
Yeah, it's short.
All right, let's take a look at that. This is also, here it is on your website. And here is the video. Okay. Well, that video was not like the first video.
No, I was
Wow.
really proud of myself.
You really had it going on in that video. I liked it.
I
Nice.
won't tell you how long it took me to make that video.
So you did that yourself. That's really good.
Impressive what you can.
Yeah, I think it's really great. Now, where are these videos going?
That video, we have a lot of people are trying to spread this word for the month of May. We got a little bit of a late start, but really, you probably know this, the research really points to that, whether it's a small thing like getting a tiny bit of sunshine or a huge thing like landing a job, gratitude, or finding, when things aren't great, finding anything good will exponentially increase your mood, help you deal with adversity, and just make you happier. So that's our campaign right now for this month, and we're trying to get it out on social media, is to just write down 3 good things a day.
Abbie, maybe you can explain for me, since I'm a neophyte to this, but what exactly is MHC, Mental Health Collaborative? Are you a private organization? I know you're affiliated, but what exactly, can you describe that for me?
Yeah, I started this now. It's a nonprofit that I started almost a year ago, after a ton of a couple of years of research of what some needs in the mental health world are. And my mission is to spread mental health literacy, so mental health education throughout whole communities, starting right here in Hopkinton and hopefully growing throughout the country. But yeah, destigmatizing, opening up conversations about mental health and mental illness, and education.
And so, and Bob, along with those topics, it was kind of what I was saying earlier about this is a curriculum that can be taught in a school setting. For example, I believe there's a middle school that's kind of near and dear to us that has signed up for this curriculum, right, Abbie?
Yeah, we were actually scheduled to start training next week, but that's been delayed. And it's funny, I just heard from Alan Keller, the principal of the middle school, that they are 100% bought in. They are ready. They're excited. They just don't know how and when, but I'm hoping for the fall we'll somehow get our great teachers to be trained in this curriculum and get it going.
I think that's a great place to be. And I'm talking about middle school. Kids are so changing and growing and full of energy, and they're still at a place where they're just honest and open a lot. And I
Yeah.
think that this is going to be really exciting to see what this does in the population.
Yeah.
Now,
So yeah, join our campaign, spread it around. This is our May thing, and who knows what will be next.
so what does that mean, join our campaign?
Well, I'm new to the whole social media thing, but
Okay.
it really just means doing it. Do 3 good things a day in a journal and write it down and see if you feel better. If you feel happier and more equipped to deal with everything that's unknown right now. But we really would like to get our name and our mission spread. So social media is a great way to do that. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter.
Right. Right. And doesn't it sound too easy, too simple to be effective? However, I kind of look at it the same way when I'm trying to walk and I'm trying to go further. You know what? If I can just go 1 extra house, after a week, I've gone 7 extra houses and I'm coming back that way. So it's like 14 extra houses. So, and it's amazing on physical things when you do just a little bit and a little bit more, how when you stop and you look back, how far you've come. And I think that the 3 things is really very much like that. If you do that, you will look back in a month or 6 weeks and actually see something has changed.
Mm-hmm.
Have you found it difficult to contact people now that you're basically using social media? In the past, I assume you could get out in the field and get out there and make your presentations, but now there's such a competition for everybody to get your attention on social media that it's difficult for one individual to make an inroads.
Yeah, I mean, social media is just one way, especially because we are trying to reach young adults, and that's a huge means of communication for them. But the funny thing is we hadn't started our programs. We're so new. We're an infant organization, so I'm just trying. I'm perfecting our curriculum, and I'm also trying to be creative about ways to open up the conversations, destigmatize, educate people. And one of the things I was thinking about before coming on HCAM today is if people in Hopkinton or anywhere that may be listening to this have any ideas or things that they would like us to do little videos on or reach out to them with, we would love to hear that.
Mm. You know, I'm curious, what are you discovering from working with your clients about how they are coping with the stress and how this is impacting them over time?
Yeah, I think as it goes on and on, I think people are a little bit more, we all are on a little bit more of an emotional roller coaster and just getting tired. It's draining. And it's funny because I was talking to someone about this the other day. It's kind of like a double-edged sword. On one hand, we're getting all this advice, how to take care of your mental health, reach out, talk to people, pick up the phone. But then sometimes you're just too tired and you don't feel like it. So it's a push and pull. And I guess the best way to deal with that is finding that happy medium. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but I think to answer your question, there's two populations that I worry most about, although all of us are affected, but I think young adults in particular, because of the isolation, that the pressure that they put on themselves even prior to this, but now with all their losses, whether it be a milestone or a job or um, just opportunities lost. They put so much pressure on themselves. And so I worry a bit about them and also about the elderly population. Um,
Mm-hmm.
living, if they're alone, more isolated, just for everyone really is just the worries about what's going to happen. What if, which we're trying to help people to not what if, but it's hard for all of us to not do that. And
Mm-hmm.
I think if helping anyone to find some nuggets of meaning or making some sense of any of this is helpful.
Right. Right. It's really interesting during just our short time on this show, hearing you talk about how, oh, you're kind of new to social media and you're like learning and how much time it took to make that really short video because it takes a lot of effort to make that. And I'm looking at you sitting in your home office, I assume. And I am thinking how hard it has to be to break through not only the wall of noise that is everybody's information stream every day, but also to just be there in a space that people can find you. So I'm wondering if you could talk for a minute about how can people support the Mental Health Collaborative, reach out and talk about what is the current state of the planning for your upcoming programs.
Um, yeah, well, um, I was just thinking when you said that with the noise, one of the big things is getting the noise out of your own heads too. That's huge. All that what if can just turn into all this negative chatter and go crazy on you. So I really want to stress that for people to try to quiet that noise, that we all go to that place.
Mm-hmm.
How can people support? Well, middle school, I just heard from today, and that's our first piloted program, and I'm just so excited about that.
Yay.
I know it's great. Um, what else people could do is really just reach out. I'm very available. Contact us on the website, or me, Abbie, at mentalhealthcollaborative.org. And just tell us if there's anything you need. We're here right now we're getting ready to do our programs, but we're also here if anyone in the community wants certain, little video, or I guess that's the best way to communicate these days. So yeah, we're here. And that would be great if anyone wants to reach out, and also to follow us on the, just trying to develop a presence on social media. And before, I know we're going to get close to our end of the time, but one of the most exciting things that we just started is our young adult advisory board. And
Wow.
yes, I mean, I'm so excited about this. And if there are any young adults out there that are very passionate about spreading our word, destigmatizing, helping people to have these real, open, authentic conversations, or just be their authentic selves. We have this advisory board, and they are helping us to see what's missing, where the needs are, what they feel they did or didn't get in middle school or high school and in college. So yeah, well, I can't tell you how excited I am. They are going to be our best teachers.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, so they're called the advisory board, but really I see them as advising me on where to take this educational material.
Right. Bob, did you have a question?
Well, I was wondering, and it's probably off topic, but I was wondering, I know you've structured this, or it sounds like you have, mainly for middle school, high school students. And you mentioned earlier about seniors, and I wondered if you've reached out to senior centers around Midwest or Metro West, or even maybe some of the first responder groups, because I know that they're all under a lot of stress during this time.
Yeah, it's funny you should say that. I do have some first responder groups that I've been doing more educational / supportive therapy. I have not reached out. I just spoke to Amy Beck, who's the person in town in charge of the senior center. So
Right.
I probably will talk to her more. I feel like everyone's getting a lot of advice, and sometimes we have to balance how much we, insert ourselves into people's lives. But if anyone wants something in terms of education, we are really willing to do that. I've been really busy, so I'm not, I have tons to do with the programming and getting this all go. It's really just getting it all off the ground right now.
Yeah, and that's really a separate thing. My wife has often remarked to me that if I talk to anyone long enough, I will eventually say the words, "Oh, you should have a TV show." However, I definitely do believe that you should have a TV show. I think that what you have is very important and has the ability to really not only affect communities but change people's lives. And I think this, as we talked about in our prior show, this all came from a situation where you were helping someone in your practice, and that came back to you, and this is the outcome of that. So I just think it's wonderful. I think this kind of stuff is so important, and I would love to see more of what you do, to definitely share out your videos and the activities that you're doing. And I'm just throwing this out there. Imagine if you had a regular show where it was just like a case study, where you take an example of a particular person from a particular group and kind of go through what that person went through and how they received help to overcome whatever they were struggling or dealing with. That kind of thing could really resonate with people of that age. And, maybe even they could write in or contact you with their own questions and stuff like that, just to raise the visibility there.
Okay, well, I'll hire you, Jim. You know how much I hate being videoed, but maybe a TV show is in my future. I'm not sure. We'll see. In terms of what Bob said, I did want to say, although we're focused on schools because clearly they're a great natural environment to reach young adults and parents and teachers, we are focused on whole communities. Our eventual goal is to be giving this type of mental health education and promotion to whole communities, any stakeholder, any group. So
And that, honestly, that's so exciting. That is so electric. It is not, you know what, give a book out to the kids in the school, let them read the book and, whatever, right? It is, you are looking at an entire community. Makes you think of that saying, it takes a village. You are
Yeah.
looking at an entire village and everybody working together. Many hands make heavy work light, and it's tremendous.
Yep. Yeah.
All right,
One more thing.
please.
If I could get one message across today, and I thought about this right before we got on, is if people can really focus on being kind to themselves and kind to others, that in this world where we can control almost nothing, that is something we can control. So I'd like to leave on that note of just, practice that every day.
Love it. I love that. Thank you, Abbie. Thanks so much for spending this time with us and
Thank
sharing
you.
your thoughts.
Thank you so much. And we'll talk about the TV show.
You know where to find me.
Bye-bye.
All right.
Have a great
Bye.
weekend, everyone.
Thank you.
You too. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.
All right. And that is the end of this first half hour. Coming up next, Mike Tarosian will be taking over the reins. And Mike, I don't even know if Matt's ready with an update or if he's not, or if you're just going on. So
Let's test him. I think he's ready. He looks ready. Look at him.
Do it.
All right.
I'm always ready. Except when I'm not, but in this case I am. Well, obviously tonight at 7 p.m. we have Cheryl Peralt, who's doing the weekly Friday night wake up call, as always. On Sunday we have our combined Christian services at 10:30 p.m. or a.m. 10:30 a.m. And then on Monday we're going to be talking with a few members of the Hopkinton Chamber of Commerce, Brian Brown and Christina Morrissey, I believe that's how that's pronounced. And at 2:30 p.m. I'm going to be talking with Valerie von Rosenbing, the high school theater and English teacher.
Excellent. Thanks, Matt. See, Jim, I told you he could do it. All right. Bob, you got to hang out with me for this next half hour?
Yes, I'd be happy to be here.
Fantastic.
What
And
happened
everyone-
to? Oh, here she is.
Thanks. And,
Cortney.
welcome her along right now, Cortney Black from Holliston Handy. Courtney,
Hi.
how are you?
Great. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, well, thanks for coming on. And so as we start every show, especially your first time here, how you surviving?
You know what? I'm actually doing pretty well. I think given the timing of everything, I'm allowed and able to work outside much more. I think if this happened over winter time, it would be a little bit more challenging. But this is the time of the year where I do a lot of my projects outside, and it's been going well.
And I'm sorry, we did schedule this a couple weeks ago. If I knew it was going to be this good of a day, you should be out there working instead.
That's okay. Don't worry about it.
So, but we appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule. So for people who don't know you, let's give us the little elevator pitch here. Who you are, where you come from. Let everyone
Sure
know.
thing. Well, my name is Cortney Black. I own Holliston Handy. It's pretty much a handy woman business. I do all of the work myself, keeps it very local. I do a lot of projects in primarily Holliston and in Hopkinton. Those are my two big areas. I do most anything. I have a lot of clients who call me for little projects, big projects. I've had the business for about 3.5 years now. I've always tinkered with things, fixed things, those sorts of things, and thought it would be a great time to build a business on it. There is a niche market for it, and
Right.
It's been very successful, and I'm very happy I get to do fun things every single day and new things.
And no greater feeling than working for yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Because you get mad at the boss. Well, that's a whole different conversation.
Absolutely. I fully agree.
So where you from and what is your background? I mean, were you always a handy person? Were you
No, actually,
you go to school for or anything like that?
I'm originally from California. Moved out here for almost 10 years ago. My wife is a professor at Boston College, and that brought us out this way. I actually went to school for sound engineering and post-production, and was working in San Francisco for quite a while doing that. And then we moved out here, and the kids were in school full time, and this is what I I've been fixing up our house and things like that and other people's houses. And then that's how I just decided to create the business. And that's how it's become pretty successful doing that.
Well,
So
okay,
Courtney,
yes,
most of the things that you're doing have to do with home repairs,
Yes, most
internal
are.
or external or both?
I do both, but right now, because of the virus, I have been working exclusively outside. That way, I don't have contact with clients and that sort of thing. And I do source all of my materials locally with either Hopkinton lumber or Ashland lumber. So everything I call it in gets delivered to my job sites. I that way there's as little contact as possible to keep my family safe and keep everyone else's family safe too.
Do you have a limit to the size of the projects you've taken on since you've been Holliston Handy?
Well, there's also a limit to what my license allows me.
Ah,
I have a home improvement contracting license, which does not allow me to pull permits for large projects such as remodeling an entire bathroom, that sort of thing, or reframing a porch or something. But that doesn't mean I can't, like if someone had wood rot on their porch, I can definitely take off the boards and replace them, that sort of thing. It's just having to pull permits and that sort of thing does not allow me to do that.
So starting this business here and coming from California too. I mean, you survived the winters. You're doing okay. Not ready
Yes.
to go back.
The
Yeah.
first winter we were here was 2010 into 2011. And that was actually one of the top 10 worst winters in history. So, and we had tandem parking and we were at this corner. It couldn't have been a more unwelcoming winter for our first time here, but it worked out. And I said, if this is one of the worst, we can handle this. So, and I love it. I like the winters. I like the snow, and I can handle it.
That's good. And you said you were doing some production work, and I could tell because you're one of the few guests I had to tell to frame up your shot. You did very nice.
Oh, thank you.
So now, now when you came out here, did you just go to work for somebody? Did you just say
No, I actually was a
what finding
stay-at-home
niche?
mom for quite a few years.
Really?
The kids were young, and
Yep.
it just happened. It just worked out that way, and then they were in school full time, and it
Time
was
to get
time for
busy.
me to go back. And
Excellent.
this was the perfect way to do it. That way I could stay very locally, pick up the kids from school and that sort of thing. Working 2-3 minutes, 5 minutes from the schools, it was nice working. So it's really hyper locally for clients. So it's worked out really well.
So before I get into making you give all your little secrets and tips away for free to our viewers, just a few more little things a
Sure.
bit about you. You have sort of embraced the community a little bit. I see that you just, all right, you're from California, you're just going to do your thing. But no, I think you kind of love Holliston.
Yeah, I love Holliston. I love Holliston and Hopkinton. I feel like both of those communities have really been so supportive in growing my business.
Yeah.
And I couldn't be thankful anymore. I mean, it's been wonderful. And I'm just so grateful for the people here. And it's been wonderful. I've really loved being part of both communities.
Right. And you give to the community as well, which was our discussion, whether you're going to do this without a picture or just your voice, because you're worried about a haircut.
Oh, well, yeah. So
explain to viewers what you did for your
well,
haircut.
about a month ago, I'm very much, I have to get my hair cut every like 6 weeks. And obviously just as this hit, all of the my hairdresser obviously had to close down. So I wanted to come up with something kind of creative. So I created a fundraiser for the Holliston Food Pantry.
Right.
And each $5 donation each person was given a vote
Yep.
on how I was going to cut my hair at the end. And so It was the difference between, I think I said, shaving it on the sides, shaving it completely, or shaving a mohawk.
Right.
And overwhelmingly, it was to shave a mohawk. So it is there. It's there. It's
Yep.
just,
You worked it the right way.
it's just folded over a little bit
Right.
today. So,
Sure.
yeah, so I raised about $750 for the food pantry, and I had a good time with it. It was fun, and actually it created a lot of business that I didn't really think, like, in a way, because then people, you know, saw my name out there and they started calling me, oh yeah, I have this project or whatever. And it was great. And I wasn't expecting the publicity of it,
Right.
but it turned out, and it was fun, and it all just grows back. I don't care. So,
Right. And of course, the way that these communities are, Hopkins and Holliston, are so similar.
yes.
And love them both myself. I've been out here in Hopkins for 33 years now. And
Mhm.
I tell you, it's been wonderful and doing for the community. And, you know, you didn't do this to get business, you know, but
No.
what happens is I know this from the people, they see people who give to the community and they just want to support that.
Absolutely.
You know, they just want to support those good, kind people that, you know, they're not out there for their name. They're out there because it's the right thing to do.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And
Any other community groups that you support?
some of the well, I wouldn't say support directly. Some of the, so I do have a fair amount of elderly clients that I offer services to
Sure.
pro bono, just because I know it's a group that generally does not, you know, have the income as much. And I've been able to help out a few local seniors. I believe it's called, what is it, Mission Springs,
Mission Springs. Yes. Yep.
in Holliston. Yeah. So.
Oh, that's outstanding. That was good work. All right, enough of the good stuff. Let's get into some dirty fingernails here. We are now in week number what, 8, 9? I can't.
Something.
Yeah. All I know is I wish I never threw out that Flowbee I got in the 80s. Because myself, I go every 5 weeks for mine, and I was a week away before things got
Right.
shut down.
Yep.
And now this mess here, hence the baseball cap,
Yeah.
it's so out of control. Anyways, I'm homeowner. What are the things that I should be looking at that you know I neglect because I'm so busy? What are the things that you know hasn't been looked at that should be checked and repaired? What are some of the things?
I think the number one thing is to do a visual inspection of your outside of your home. I think we're all, number one, stuck inside, and so we have this feeling, oh, I've got to stay inside. But about 75% of the work that I do in spring, summer, and most of fall is replacing exterior wood rot. It is unbelievably common, even with homes with vinyl siding. You're going to see some wood as well, wood sills and that sort of thing. So going around and especially checking on wood sills, trim around windows, trim on, below the front steps, things like that. Most of those were made with wood back 20 years ago. That's when you're starting to see a lot of the rot coming. And a lot of the times I replace the wood with PVC these days. It is no maintenance. Once you paint it, it looks just like wood.
Yep.
And it's also bird resistant, woodpeckers and all those things. And it's really important in doing this exterior check of your home is to also make sure that, there's no cracks and caulking and places where water can get in, places where bugs can get in. I can't tell you how many times I've pulled off exterior wood and, there are the carpenter ants ready to move, and they're very smart. insects.
Yeah,
So,
thanks for saying that, because I'm looking right at my wall and I just saw one come out of a crack.
oh, did you really?
I'm looking
Oh,
right at
if
it.
you saw one,
I just seen
there are
one.
hundreds.
Yeah. Oh, thanks. Thanks.
I'm sorry to
gonna-
tell you that, but they're they're
I'll
there.
go stay at a
yeah.
hotel tonight. Yeah, thanks.
Right.
Good.
So I would say it's really important. And I come to homes where people are like, oh, I didn't notice this, or I'll do a visual check with them, and it's gotten to the point where there's more that has to be replaced. So replacing it earlier, it's gonna save you a lot more in the end,
Right.
rather than having to replace it.
How much would
further.
you recommend a homeowner doing themselves before they hire a professional like yourself? And and I'm leading you on this question because I'm pretty sure I know the answer. But me being a homeowner, here the guy, I got time now.
Yeah.
I'm going to tackle this job. Why should I or why shouldn't I?
I think when you when you feel uncomfortable doing something, you should hire someone. I mean, for exterior rot, there's a lot of tools and things that go into it. And if you don't have the skill set of those tools, then I would definitely recommend hiring someone. I think some of the things that homeowners can do on their own is, power washing decks and that sort of thing. I think that's important too. Out here with the elements that we do have, decks they need a lot of work. Need to be painted every 3 years, stained every 3 years. That means power washed, stripped down, and painted or stained. So it's really important to keep up with those things. I made some notes on other things that homeowners can do. I would say that most would probably feel most comfortable with is cleaning out the coils behind your refrigerator. That's important because that also will keep up with the efficiency of your appliances, even behind the stove too, especially if you have pets. That's where the hair goes.
Right. The
there.
pets definitely.
Oh, another thing is to clean out your dryer vents. That's really important too.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I'm talking like,
Please say why it's so important, because I don't know if you know, but I'm also a firefighter.
oh,
So
you are? Okay.
Please explain why
Oh
it's
my
important
gosh.
to take your dryer vents.
I'm telling you, even after a year, if you haven't cleaned those out, the lint gets clogged in those vents and they do cause fires. And I'm sure you have seen it before.
Yes. Quite often. Bob has a question for you.
Yes.
Well, I had several, but Mike hasn't let me get a word in edgewise yet.
I'm going to go get rid of this carpet and you can talk.
Yeah. You're going to call somebody to get rid of.
Yeah, right. That I would recommend. Yes.
Thank you. Yes.
So, Cortney, I was wondering, you came from California, San Francisco. You didn't have this job in California, in San Francisco.
Nope.
How did you evolve into this type of repair? Does it come from when you bought an older home and worked on it?
I've always just fixed things. It just comes naturally to me. I've just, put in light fixtures, fix things. I don't know where. I'm assuming I probably got it from my father. He was a merchant marine, and so he sailed around the world, and you can't just call someone if something goes wrong. And so I think it's just kind of in my DNA that I kind of know how to fix things. And so yeah.
Well, you had a good introduction when you came to Holliston during the winter, so you knew what the winters were like. But it seems like you're leading a Yankee type of existence where you don't tear it down and throw it away. You fix it, patch it, make it work.
Yes. I've always liked to tinker with things. When I was little, I used to take apart radios and try and fix them, or blenders and things like that, just because, the amount of waste that we have as Americans, as any population, is just so great. And so being able to just kind of fix things and learn about how things work it's really important to me. So
well, yeah, and with that too, again, I'm just a little bit older than you. I grew up. Nothing was a throwaway society back then. Not like today. Today, things are designed to break after a few years and be replaced because it's so cheap to replace it. No one
Right.
repairs it. Me, I was 12 years old that I did my first points and plugs on a car.
Yeah.
It's just the way you're taught. So, to get back to the dryer vent, one little handy tool that anyone can get on the internet is a little endoscope camera. That
Oh, nice.
goes right onto your phone. Stick that down your dryer vent and see what's in there, and then
Oh,
you'll
yeah.
know how much you really have to clean it.
It's
But,
true. I mean, some people's dryer vents are 20 feet away to
Yeah.
the exterior where it's, needs to get out. And another thing is to check the flap on the dryer vents too, on the outside, because that's when birds start to come in too and make little nests, and they're nice and toasty and warm.
Sometimes rodents like those places too, if
Yep.
they're close
They
enough
do,
to the
especially
ground.
if they're low to the ground. They're very easy to get into.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah, but I know that I clean mine out all the time because my wife, it goes out under the side porch and she's always worried about fire. But the other thing about not cleaning your dryer vent, which has nothing to do with fire, but it certainly affects the productivity of your dryer. Cuts
Absolutely.
down on, it takes longer to dry clothes because the airflow's not there.
Absolutely. Yep, it does. That's true. So anything with appliances, making sure that they're in good working order, cleaning coils, like I said, and cleaning behind them. It's the same thing. Cleaning your dryer vent. Absolutely. Very
And
important.
that gets back to the Yankee concept of keep it clean, work on it, fix it, keep it as long as you can, and then sell it to somebody else.
Exactly.
So, Cody, we got a comment on YouTube from Catherine. Says it's easy to be supportive when your work is so amazing.
Oh, well, that's so nice.
Your fans are chiming in.
I did post it on multiple social media, so that's really nice to
Yes,
nice to hear.
I saw it this morning, so that saved my promotion by half because you did it for me already, which was excellent. So now I'm checking this out. What are some of the other things that we can be checking on a regular basis?
So yeah, I was also making other notes. Oh, is in bathrooms, making sure around sinks and those sorts of things, making sure it's caulked, that you're not getting water behind things, behind your sink there. It all finds a way somewhere. So if that water is going behind there, at some point you're going to get, mold behind there on the drywall or something like
Right.
that. Just in a caulking gun, it's $10. A tube of caulk is $5. It's a really easy way to just keep up with some of the maintenance things. I'd say beyond that is to also make sure your like toilet lines and water supply lines, we don't often open up below our sinks, and like how do we know if we're having a leak until it's a really big problem?
Right.
If you're seeing some of that like green blue color on the copper lines, there's probably some water coming from somewhere, or has been. Just taking a visual check of something like that would be under a plumber, though. That is not something my license allows me to do.
And it technically doesn't allow a homeowner to do.
That is true as well. Yes.
And everyone doesn't know this, but it's a strange. A homeowner can do their own electrical wiring, but they can't do their own plumbing.
I know.
And they say,
right?
well, gee, that's electricity, fire, water. No.
There's no difference.
Well, the big difference is that if you do your own plumbing, you can contaminate a whole public water supply. If
Yeah.
You do it wrong. You can
Right. Yeah.
backflow the water and so forth. So that's why plumbers are needed to work on your water stuff.
Yes. I wouldn't touch electrical either in that sort of sense. I'll change out light fixtures and things like that in my own home.
Yeah.
I just know, I know enough about electricity to do those things. I also know enough about plumbing to do my own, but
Can you explain to people why they should check for, you being in Holliston, every one of your customers in Holliston have septic systems. And why is it important to maybe check the toilets to make sure it's not running or leaking?
Well, we also have the lovely brown water here in Holliston as well. So
They don't
all
call
of
it
those
Mudville for nothing. So
right. And all of those things cost a lot of money. Yeah, we're flushing them down the drain to our septics, but our septics only have a certain shelf life as well. You might not see it, but they only last, 30, 40 years these days. And so,
if you're like the new ones today, to 30 to 35 years, the ones that were built in the 70s and 80s were designed to last 20 to 25.
yep,
So, and the big thing is your houses can only handle so much water a day, and
yes,
a running toilet is adding more water than what you're using.
absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
they cost a little bit of dollars, right? These septic systems.
Oh yeah, well, that's also another important thing to do, which I've also seen a lot more coming through my neighborhood, is Holliston Sewer coming through and making sure that your septics are pumped, because we are all at home a little bit more
Right.
these days, and that is incredibly important. I like to do mine every year just to be safe. It doesn't cost a whole lot to
No.
just do it.
Just about under
I know some people
$300
who
now.
go 5 years, and I don't understand why. Because what if they end up having to sell their home and realize there's a bigger cost that's going to be added on? These septic systems are $20,000.
If you're lucky, and
If you're,
especially
yeah, that's true.
especially in the clay and rocky areas of
Oh,
Holston.
or if it has to be that we had to have ours done when we purchased our house, and there's conservation land, so it's like you have to go
That's
through the
even more.
conservation board. They have to figure out where it can go, and it gets messy,
I was a licensed contractor for 25 years,
Oh, yeah?
installed, cleaned, repaired, and I'm still an inspector. So, yeah, it's near and dear to my heart. I knew people that only pumped it when they backed up.
Yeah, yeah.
So-
I don't
And
get
Bob
it.
laughs at that because Bob, how about you? How do you take care of your septic? Oh, yeah, I'm mute. You just muted.
I called in a contractor to come in and dig it up and replace it. And I did that just before the town went over to sewer. So
Oh,
I had a brand new septic tank that they bypassed with the sewer system.
oh,
That's a killer. And sewer systems, everyone says, "Oh yeah, I'm on sewer, woohoo, final." That's a lot of money compared to $300 every 2 years.
yes.
Usually it's $300 a quarter for sewer.
Yes, exactly. I think there's the cost that you don't notice when you kind of have it on a utility versus, oh, I'm having to call someone to do this for me.
Sure.
But yeah.
All right, so we've got about 3.5 minutes left. Tell me about smoke detectors and carbon dioxide detectors.
Oh yeah.
You do that as well?
I do not. Well, I'll change out
Okay.
smoke detectors. But I do know that it's kind of, I think, as a firefighter, as you know, there's some laws. I think it's kind of town dependent
Correct. You do
on
change down
where,
the town.
yeah, where they're supposed to be located and that sort of thing. But it is definitely important. I always change my batteries out every 6 months, and that's something that's really hard to remember. So I know they say to do it, at the time change, and
Yep.
it's a really easy, safe way to do it. But you have to make sure that you do it like on that day or the day after, or else it's like,
gonna go
oh,
another 6
I'll
months.
just wait. And then it's like, oh, that beeping noise in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
That's when people decide to change them.
No,
But-
that's when they call 911.
Yeah, right.
But the good news is the new detectors now have a 10-year sealed battery in it for
Yes.
backup.
Yes.
Or the older homes that don't need hard wiring, it's a 10-year life, which that's all the detectors last anyways, because that
Yeah.
little radioactive material in there fades away.
Yep.
Carbon monoxide detectors, one on every level, people.
Oh, see, now that's
good.
it. That one is important.
Yeah.
Carbon monoxide detectors, people put them up high. They need to be low. That's the biggest thing that I've come across in homes, is they always put them up where smoke detectors are supposed to be. If you have them up by where the smoke detector is, you're going to be dead. It needs to be low, plugged in.
Yep.
You can have plugged
Like in
one,
the hallway
battery ones with plug backup or whatever. and they need to be low. They need to be at, foot level or so, because carbon monoxide is heavy. And so it's low, and it's gonna go off when it's coming up, up your basement. It's gonna be pinging there, but not up high.
Yeah.
So
no,
that's very important.
That's true. Those only last 7 years. Well, I want to take it first. I want to give a little shout to your website, Halston Handy. Oh, guess what? At the halstonhandy.com, people can find you there. And you said free estimates and consultations, which is outstanding.
I do a lot of text consultations these days too. People are always welcome to text me pictures of projects and things like that.
Right.
And if there's something that I can't do, then I always have someone else that I recommend for things too.
All right, we're out of time, and they're going to throw up the end credits on us. Cortney, thank you very much, and I'll be talking to you. I want to have you back again.
I appreciate it, Michael. Thanks so much. I appreciate it. Have a good one.
All right, goodbye, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks.